Then let me call this meeting to order at 12:31, Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024, here for a further discussion on this proposed Forest Service agreement with Shoshone County for use of our airport for their fire fighting this summer. We had asked our airport manager if you could do a little research and see if the $100 a day rate was about the going rate. What can you report back to us?
I can give you this so that you can read that. I didn't have another one, but you did. Did you need one, Sydney?
I'm okay.
I can share.
I called St. Mary's, Thompson Falls, Orofino, Holman, Libby, Eureka, Ponderay County, and Sandpoint, and talked to their managers, find out what their fees were. Ours is $100. St. Mary's doesn't charge, but they do get donations back from the Forest Service and Idaho Department of Lands without paying them. Thompson Falls charges $200 a day per site, and then they have about 5 or 6 different places that they can rent there also. Orofino doesn't charge anything, but Idaho Department of Lands paid them $1,600 last year without them asking. Pullman has no fees, but they don't. It's been years since they've had a firefighting crew out of there. Libby has 2 up in the county, up there in Lincoln County. They have Libby and Eureka. At Libby, the Forest Service owns a piece of property, and that is their landing zone. And so they land the helicopters out there on their own private property. They don't charge them. Eureka, on the other hand, is their District 3, which is 72 miles away. They have another landing strip up there, and they do charge the Forest Service $100 a day for site on that piece of property up there. Boundary County charges them no fees because they're afraid that they wouldn't come back if they did. Now, we'll get to Sandpoint. This is really an interesting one. Sandpoint charges $6 a day for overnight fees for whatever you want to park at their aerodrome. They charge the Forest Service $6 a day for a helicopter, for a fuel tanker truck, and for each pickup that shows up. And there's typically 4 vehicles around a helicopter in the fire season. And so there's $6 a day. That's $24 a day for one site, let's call it. And they typically run 3 to 6 sites in the fire season. So that would be between $72 and $144 a day for the sites that they're charging the Forest Service. In addition to that, Sandpoint sells a lot of Jet A fuel, which helicopters use. They don't use conventional fuel. 100 LL is what we have out here, which is a reciprocating engine, and they take 100 octane low lead fuel. Helicopters have jet engines in them. And so Sandpoint, sometimes he said they show up with helicopters from different contractors, and they bring their own fuel with them, and they do not buy fuel from Sandpoint. So what does Sandpoint do? It's like, everybody here play golf? No? If you play golf, you go up to the golf course up there and you pay for your round. They have a golf cart you can rent to play the round in. If you have your own cart, which a lot of people do, you bring your own cart up on the trailer and you get off of it and you put it out there. They charge you $25 a day to rent a cart. If you bring your own cart, they charge you $15 a day, and they call it a trail fee to run your own cart on their golf course. Same thing with Sandpoint when it comes to fuel. If the contractor doesn't buy fuel from them, they charge the contractor 5 cents per gallon for every gallon that is used at that helicopter. A typical mid-size helicopter burns about 1,000 gallons of fuel a day. And you can see I wrote down there that it's at 5 cents a gallon. That's $50 a day per helicopter that they're charging the Forest Service when they have one helicopter. If they have 3 helicopters out there, it amounts to $150. And they have 6 sites that they use like we do. And if there's 6 of them there, that's $300 a day. That is for a medium-sized helicopter like we typically have out here. If you get into a large helicopter, like a Chinook or a Sikorsky Sky Crane or a Black Hawk, they can burn upwards of 3,000 gallons of fuel a day per helicopter, which amounts to an enormous amount. So as it turns out, Sandpoint is charging about the same price that we would be charging here, about $100 a day per site. Mm-hmm. But they go about it differently so that it looks like they're not doing too much. But as it turns out, they're making as much money as we are, and sometimes more if they have a large helicopter out there, which we just charge a flat fee.
How many sites are we providing?
6. And we can provide more than that if need be.
But they're only going to pay on the ones they use.
They only pay on the ones that they use, and it's $100 per site.
Okay. So it looks like from your research, we're right about in the middle.
We are exactly right in the middle. I wouldn't recommend that we go any higher than that, but I certainly wouldn't reduce it.
What is this telling us? 10 acres north of the runway and west of.
That's the area that they're that they operate in. It's that big flat gravel area.
Okay.
You're talking about the LZ?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a landing zone that the helicopter uses that they clear out. It's kind of a military term, but they own a large chunk of property, the Forest Service does up there. And so they land on their own piece of property and they bring it in there, and they don't have to interfere with Libby Airport.
Right. No, she's talking about on this agreement here that is talking about the 10 acres north of the airport, which is where we traditionally keep the helicopters. So
they're typically west of the terminal building. I guess that would be on the west end of the. We don't have a picture of it here. I should have brought a picture with me.
No.
It's down toward the end of the runway out there. As soon as you get to the end of the runway, there's or the end of the.
I remember seeing them staged down at
the end. They stage down in there, and we typically have about 2 acres per site that they have access to. These other people don't have such a large one. Sandpoint I asked him where they had their sites at, and he said, well, when they show up, we just pick a spot out there for them that nobody's parked in. And so we don't do that. We make sure that they have a secure area that they can bring their stuff. They can leave it there overnight. They don't have to worry about anything. So
it looks like we're in line with what the majority of the people are doing.
We are. Yeah. Absolutely, we are. Yeah.
Maximum amount to be paid under this agreement shall not exceed $1,500.
That's per day?
It would say the maximum amount at $100 a day. So
that's per site.
Per site. So
that's $600 a day. If they have 6 helicopters show up at our facility, we're going to charge the Forest Service $600. And they could have 24 vehicles out there with fuel trucks and everything else on that runway, on that facility out there.
Yeah, it just looks like that this agreement says we're topping out at $1,500 for each day that the facility is used. Government will pay $100 a day for each day of use.
Yeah, if we top out, it's
so that's 15 days is all they're willing to pay for.
Well, 15 days. I hope the fire doesn't last any longer than that.
Did anybody else have a limit on them? This is the part I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was thinking that, yeah.
No, they don't have a limit on them. A fire is a fire, and I can't imagine why they would put a limit on it, but...
well, I can. It would control their spending.
Yeah, well, that's true, too.
But it means that we're giving these away after, if they have a 1 month of fire season, basically we're down to $50 a day, because they're going to only pay for the first 15 days.
That's something that needs to be looked into and addressed with them. That particular issue needs to be addressed, I would say.
Okay. Do you have a copy of the agreement?
I do not.
Okay. It looks like I'm dealing with that copy. Do you have the original in your possession?
I have the examples he sent, for previous ones.
Okay, so Randy, what I'm gonna circle the part that if you'd be willing, if it's all right with you, I think we should have Randy. Did you follow up with the
Okay.
Forest Service and or some of these other airports like that charge the same $100 or Sandpoint and say, hey, is there a limit? Because it looks like they're limiting it to $1,500 a year per site.
Okay, I would.
It doesn't really
I don't know. It
expand,
doesn't say
yeah.
that. It should be $1,500 a day, or whichever would be the maximum, but not $1,500 for the entire season. I mean, when the Forest Service shows up and they have a large fire out here, and if they have one right up north of us, right up in here, they can show up at our airport out there, and they can bring firefighting equipment. They can bring restrooms and bathrooms and night shelters and a kitchen unit and everything else out there to fight that fire for those crews that are out in here. And they pay for those things, and those things are $50,000 a week for those things. Mm-hmm. I cannot imagine that they would not want. I'll talk to them.
Yeah.
I also did the fuel. If you don't want to see that now, or
that is not on the agenda,
okay.
So
right.
we can ask you for an update here in a minute and just
okay.
get it. We won't be able to vote on that or anything.
Okay.
So, Commissioner, if it's all right with you, I would rather we delay action on this until we find out what that clause means.
Yeah, I would like some more clarification too, because this couple parts read differently.
So, if you could at least find out from the other airports if they have some kind of stop, like maximum payment.
I will call Randy Gullrup. He is the Forest Service engineer in charge of all flight up in the Coeur d'Alene National Forest, and he's the one that I talked to before. And I will ask him last. I will talk to the other people first.
Just a couple of those and see if anybody else has a stop. But
exactly.
Ask him if we're interpreting that correctly, because
right.
That's what it seems to mean. Is that they're going to only pay for the first 15 days, and then after that they're done paying. That wouldn't make a lot of sense.
And I think we would have to negotiate with them about that.
Yeah, this page that reads, a little bit different, stating that they are going to pay the 100. Just need clarification on the Idaho Montana acquisition too.
Yeah, so I'm not sure why that's in there. Okay. Anything further on that issue?
No.
All right. Why don't you go ahead and just give us an update on fuel?
I can give these to you also.
Where we're charging right now, and
here's another one if you want.
Matt, you want to look at that?
Right now we're charging $6.12 a gallon for 100 low lead self-service. St. Mary's is $6.25. You can see the prices right all the way down through there, and I called all the way to Ronan, Polson, Kalispell, Glacier Park, Boundary County, Eureka, Sandpoint, and we are right in the middle of the ballpark. The Montana stations, Glacier Park, all of those down in there charge slightly less because they have less taxes on fuel in Montana than we do here. If I were to add in Washington State's fuel in here, I did put Phelps Field, but you can see Phelps Field is charging $6.35, and for full service, $8.54 a gallon. We only charge $6. We're $2.50 below them because they have an enormous amount of taxes on their gas bill over there in Washington State. Montana likewise has less tax on their fuel than we do here in Idaho. So even considering that, if you look at all of those prices that are down there for self-service and for full service, we are still in the ballpark right here, and I recommend at this particular point in time not changing from $6.12 a gallon.
Yeah, and we're not going to vote on this today because it wasn't on the agenda. This is just informational.
Right.
My question is, do you know how much we paid per gallon?
$5.12.
So we're making $1 a gallon.
$1 a gallon. We were last year charging $6.85, so we were making $1.73 this year, because to be competitive with everyone, we dropped the price down, and these folks over here are the same way that we are. Now, Jet A fuel, on the other hand,
yeah, we don't have that tank.
Well, we don't have that here, but I can tell you what their fuel prices are. They're being charged about $3 a gallon to have it delivered, and you can see the prices on there, what they're charging for it. They're making over $3 a gallon off their jet fuel, and they sell 3 or 4 times as much jet fuel as they do 100 LL. So airports, when they make incomes that they can put back into the airport, it's made off of the jet fuel, not 100 LL. And so it's something to think about.
Oh yeah, it's still worth thinking about.
Yeah.
How to figure out how to get that airport to pay for more of itself. Okay, well this is good research, good information. You're not recommending any change right now, so I won't put this on the agenda for right away, but after all 3 commissioners have looked at it, I'd like to get us to the point where once a month or so we got your recommendation, voted on the price of fuel, and voted to keep it the same or raise it or lower it.
Sure.
Do you have a means to see the fuel bill and know what we're paying as we go each month, or
what we're paying
quarterly, or?
Well, he knows what we paid for the last tank.
No,
okay.
we buy the tank
You
load,
get to see, yeah.
$21,500 and some dollars, and so out of that we've typically can sell 400 gallons out of it before we have to restock it before it won't.
So you get a copy of the slips, obviously, when they
I do
deliver
not.
them.
Everything that comes in goes straight to the clerk's office. That's. I wish I had a copy so I would know.
That's what I was wondering. If
See,
when they come in, I can ask her to email them to you or something.
That would be nice, or just have a line item, because it's nice to know that we are actually making this money for the airport that goes into the county fund, rather than saying that we don't make a nickel out there. That's not true. We make over $1 a gallon for every gallon of fuel that we charge out there. So the airport does make a little bit of income, and
it makes a few $1,000s. But my question is it's not going back to the airport.
No,
on the budget. I don't think. I think we discovered that last time that.
We'll have to look at the revenues on the airport and see where it's going.
Which seems, doesn't make sense to me why we're showing the expense for the fuel, but we don't show the income for the sale. And that was something the last clerk and I talked about, but I don't believe it got resolved. So.
Okay. As far as I know, I don't have a budget for my department.
There is not much of a budget for the airport.
I can show you what was budgeted and the line items if you want, and I can show you where we're at.
Yeah, I know exactly how bad it is.
Okay.
We're working that direction.
When do we need to have information back on this?
ASAP.
Okay.
Because they really wanted to get that done in the next 2 to 3 weeks or something, didn't they?
They're hoping for a May 1st.
May 1st.
I mean, I would call the actual contract, whoever's on there, and ask them to clarify the wording and
I talked to all the other people, and they asked them, have they been approached by the Forest Service about their contracts? And every one of them said, no, we have not been contacted yet about a new land use agreement with the United States Forest Service. So I don't know if they chose us to be number 1 on their list or what, but anyway, I'll get it done as soon as I can.
Okay. Appreciate that.
All right.
Any questions from the public?
No.
Anything further from you, General? That's his official title as Airport Manager. General.
No, I think we're doing all right out there. I do have a concern. They put the dog trail in out there, and they have 3.5 miles of dog trail for people to use. People are still coming through that gate out there and driving all around the terminal building, and then driving down out in the middle of no place on where the helicopters land, and stopping out there and letting their dogs run loose. And that's against the FAA. You can't have large animals running loose on an aerodrome. That's why they put these fences around there. And I have gone out there, and I don't want to create waves with people for doing what they're doing, but I've told a lot of them that your parking lot's down there, please. I put up a sign out there on the fence that says, this is an aerodrome. If you have business in here, please come in. If you don't,
it's not a
don't
locked
come
gate.
in. It's not.
It is.
It is a lock. It's a lock gate, but it has a kiosk on it. So if everybody passes around the combination of the kiosk, anybody can go down there and just drive in there. And I'm a little concerned about it. We are looking toward possibility of having some accident happen that I
It
don't want
shouldn't
that
be
to take place.
public use.
Yeah, especially since they spent so darn much money to put in that parking lot and have the dog trails right out there at the gate. They don't need to come through the gate, but down there. And I have asked several people, please park down there and use the facility that was made for you down there. And they've been sort of upset at me, but they've all complied. And I wasn't obnoxious about it, but I just told them that we have to maintain integrity of this aerodrome, and the FAA wants us to do that. So,
Okay, well, thanks for that report. Again, we won't take any action on that at this time, but I'll get back with you after
okay.
we'll get you some more direction on that. Okay, all right, thank you. And I think with that we are adjourned because we're